I'm Elle Mejia, a landlord, investor, and retail leasing professional. I've completed high-level transactions for retailers in markets across 5 continents. On my way to building a multi-million-dollar real estate business, I'm curating advice from women who are killing it across the globe and sharing those conversations with you. You can absolutely run your business, run your household, and run your life without running yourself into the ground. Welcome to This Girl Sells Real Estate. Hello and welcome. You're tuned into This Girl Sells Real Estate, a podcast where we feature conversations with phenomenal women in real estate. And I am so excited to introduce you to our guest for today. We have Alexis Kofman who will be joining us. Now, from being the youngest infant in the province of Ontario to receive a prosthetic limb, to learning how to drive stick as a congenital amputee, to revitalizing downtown heritage buildings and constructing multi-unit housing as the National Director of B.I.G Renovation and Design, a division of Brockhedge Investment Group, Alexis Kofman has been living life on her own terms for as long as she can remember. And today she's going to be talking to us about exactly how she does that. So please help me in welcoming Alexis Kofman. How are you, Alexis?
Hello, I'm wonderful. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, thank you for being with us today. I'm so excited to have this conversation with you. I know we were supposed to connect before all of this COVID lockdown craziness happened. I wanted to take you out for coffee. We met at the Toronto Business Babes event. Absolutely. And you were a panelist there, and I was so completely blown away and floored by your story. I definitely wanted an opportunity for you to share that with the audience here. So why don't you start by telling us just kind of how you got to where you are today? What is your story?
Well, thank you so much. And again, I'm super excited to be here. We did definitely meet, and it was a wonderful meeting. I've met so many incredible people through the Toronto Business Babes, so many feisty and effervescent entrepreneurs who are really changing the landscape of whatever their field is. So it's been a great partnership, and very proud of Lauren and her team for what they have created.
Oh, they're doing incredible work.
Yeah, very valuable to the business community. And it's so nice to have that kind of empowerment group that really does some tangible, work and networking. So huge shout out to them.
Oh, yeah. And it's funny to me how all of these groups are popping up that are specifically supporting women in business, whether it's in specific fields or whether it's just women who want to be entrepreneurs in their own fields. And it almost seems like there'll never be too much. All of the love and support that we're getting from this community, it's so needed. And I'm surprised that it's taken so long to kind of get to this point.
Well, I think that women have a very specific requirement when we're looking for support, and a lot of the challenges that we experience in businesses can be different than our male counterparts, especially in more male-dominated industries, which have been the case historically. I think that if you were to ask me how I landed where I am, I would tell you it's sheer resiliency. So I've always loved real estate since I was a young girl, flipping homes. I watched my aunt and uncle take part in doing that. I've always had a deep love for buildings. I'm able to identify immediately, what their end purpose is meant to be. I feel a property, buildings have energy, and a lot of a building will tell you what its purpose is, what it's meant to be. So I did have a lot of success early on in my career in flipping. Luckily, when I teamed up with my business partner, we moved into the long-term hold multi-residential mixed-use sector and saw tremendous success out in secondary markets with buying properties, rehabbing, redeveloping, increasing return on investments. Did stop flipping during the time when really the economic climate changed. It is something that our company will go back into in the coming years as we reassess the values, appreciation, costs, etc. It is a very challenging career. There is nothing else that I would want to do. I contemplated, being a real estate agent and doing it that way. But for me, it's not about the transaction. It's about the repurposing of the property. So being able to provide legacy value. The buildings for me are the legacy, right? They're the legacy to the community, to the tenants who live in them. They're people's homes. They fall in love with them. They have fights. They have babies. And creating that environment is really what brings me joy. And
so you're talking about not even just a legacy that you're building for yourself or for your name or for your family, but a legacy that you're leaving behind for your community as well. I think that's a really unique perspective.
Absolutely. Everything we do is a legacy for the community. So people are often confused by my mentality. And my mentality really is that it is community over competition. It's something that I spoke long before it was a buzzword or a tagline.
Before it was a hashtag.
Absolutely. I was cool before it was cool to be cool. You wouldn't know that by looking at me, but I am cool. I'm very, no. No. So, I really believe that there is enough for everyone, whether there are a million real estate people, whether there are a million, florists, a million makers, whatever your business is. I believe that there is enough for everyone, and that the strongest and most beneficial way for a community to survive and thrive is to build that community mindset, collaborations, synergistic partnerships, working together, everybody benefiting on their own strengths. And we often work with people who are deemed, for all intents and purposes, to be our competition, but we do different things, right? And we benefit each other differently.
And you also touched a little bit on the sector that you're in. Certainly in building, you don't see a lot of women in that sector of real estate. I know that for myself, I'm on the commercial side myself. I'm not in brokerage. I've been out of brokerage for a few years, but I find especially not so much in Canada. I found that being in retail leasing, there is a little bit more of a mix of men and women, but certainly with the international leasing that I've done, it's almost exclusively men. And I can imagine how difficult it must be to be in a space that you're in, because I think that your industry is still even more male dominated than mine is. Absolutely. How have you been able to navigate that, or have you even really tried to make an attempt to navigate that? Have you really just been doing your own thing?
I think it's a combination of both. I think as I've aged, I've transitioned into it better. In my youth, in my 20s, it was a challenge, because for many, and in all intents and purposes, many times, and I will tell this story, I was the only woman at the table. I was the only woman who was making decisions in construction. I was the only woman on the construction site. And I, battled those things. I battled, discrimination, and I battled sexual harassment. And those were things that I definitely had to overcome. I think how you are successful in overcoming those challenges, and look, it's a balance. I can promise you that many times I became too hard and too aggressive, and, then I went too soft, and I, played on sexuality more and flirtatiousness more. And then finally, as I've gotten to this age, turning 45 this year, where I can balance both. And I have learned that my quality comes from my knowledge. My quality comes from how I dictate myself, and how I dictate myself in situations where I would like to get angry, where I would like to get emotional, where I would like to, respond in all of those ways. But a lot of therapy, thousands of dollars of a life coach and therapy have taught me that that doesn't get me the response I want. And so I work harder and smarter to know everything about a situation that I can, to anticipate problems proactively, to realize why I may be facing discrimination and attack it head on. I've learned that sugarcoating responses in this business don't really work. And I've learned that not taking no for an answer. So if you are going to be in real estate or in manufacturing of any type, no is just not an answer. And there has to be a way of doing something, even if it's a way that you've never done before. And so that's something that I've really evolved into, is that problem solving subject matter expert for not only our own developments, but for our clients who come to us. And we're sought after to work with our clients for that reason, right? We don't give up on a project. We're relentless in trying to find other opportunities and solutions. We try very hard to make sure that our workforce, when we're using subcontractors, is diversified, and we try to get a lot of women in trades on our job sites. It's about teaching equality and teaching the knowledge that comes with being a leader in this business.
Now, you approach that, and my it's interesting for me to hear about your process in terms of the work that you've done on yourself and on your business to really get to this place where you're at today. Because when I meet you, it's the only thing that I think, like, you resonate fearlessness, you resonate just this surety about yourself that I think a lot of times people don't realize the work that it takes to get to that place. And I don't think appreciated the work that it would have taken you to get to that place. I just kind of imagined you as being a badass at the age of 2 and going from there.
I mean, how do you probably tell you I was a badass at the age of 2, but
so where does that fearlessness come from though? Where does that, even in taking that approach and in making sure that you get the help and the support and building a community around yourself with your life coach, with your therapist, with your, I'm sure, a community of friends and family that have been really supportive to you. But where does that fearlessness come from? Is that something that was always in you, or was that something that you had to work on as well?
So I think that was always in me. And I'm really fortunate to have been born with a physical disability, because right out of the gate, I knew and learned through incredible parents that there had to be no limits. There had to be new ways of finding how to do things. And maybe I couldn't tie my shoes the way, quote unquote, a normal person was tying their shoes, but there was a way for me to do something. And so right from being a young child, I learned to look at problems differently. I learned to find different solutions to those problems. That resiliency has carried me through in life and has evolved and morphed to be something that I'm so incredibly proud of. It is also a double-edged sword. You know, there are a lot of people who are jealous, a lot of people who will attack you for your resiliency. I think people want to see emotions of weakness. I don't show emotions of weakness. I will show you emotions of vulnerability as I learn through a problem, whether that's on a job site, whether that's in my personal life, whether that's me evolving as a woman into my greater self. I will show my vulnerability, but I'm not going to show weakness, because weakness is not vulnerable. So when you're looking at, in my world, a real estate transaction or a building or my millwork company, you know, there are problems that we face that make me vulnerable. There are problems that we go through that are challenges. They are never weaknesses. They are ways for us to do better, to build better, to create stronger returns on investment for our shareholders and investors and our property owners and our community. But they are not weaknesses or limitations for us to get where we are going. And I think because I have fallen down so many times and I have tried things, and you know, I love the word failure. I love it because I think it's just such a delicious word, because out of failure, you know, comes reinvention. And I think the worst thing that a business leader can do, whether you're in real estate or design or selling widgets, is get that frustration that comes with when things don't go your way. Right? When it doesn't go the way your vision board wants, when it doesn't go the way you written in your diary, and you're like, screw it, fuck it, I'm done, right? I'm not going to do this.
My vision board for 2020 is an absolute mess right now.
I don't even know a planner. Like, literally, my planner now just holds bills. I don't even. The greatest fraud for 2020 was buying a day planner.
Right? Yeah.
But it's that failure is this delicious space of, how can I do better and be better? And one of the things that I noticed in this community and every community really that I've had the privilege of working in is, if you want to piss off your competition, quote unquote, or your enemy, quote unquote, or the person who has identified you as, instead of their collaboration and leverage to where they want to be, their enemy, competition, is to love failure. Because once you have come to the place where you love your failures and you love your mistakes, you become untouchable. There is
they have no ammunition, right?
Right. There is no leverage that anyone, whether it's your competition or somebody out there in the community, that can use against you, because you've already acknowledged in your vulnerability your authentic growth. And I think that's one of the most important things as business owners and leaders is authentic growth. Let people see that you've had challenges. Let people see that building didn't go the way you'd planned, that, you know, it was over budget or over time. And then what did you learn? right? What can we do better and be better? Oh, I lost my temper today. Okay, why? What are all those reasons? Because in construction, it's super easy to be emotional, right? And as women, instead of, crying, because we don't want to cry. And when I get angry, it's great. And when I get angry, I'm a crier. So
I cry for everything. I cry when I'm sad, and I cry when I'm happy, and I cry when I'm angry.
Yeah. So I cry when I am angry. And so it's really learning about how not to trigger those emotions as a business leader, especially in a male dominated industry.
Yeah.
And how
Which is always less forgiving to women's emotions than they are to men's emotions.
Absolutely. But I actually, sadly, and I think I spoke about this at the Toronto Business Babes event, and I find more discrimination in 2020 is coming from women against other women than it is from men in my industry.
I'm interested in hearing your thoughts on that, because I feel I hear that from a lot of women, and I hear that from a lot of women in the commercial real estate sector as well as the residential real estate sector, and really across all industries. It has not been my personal experience. And I'm grateful for that, but I'm interested to learn, I guess, what your thoughts are on the mentality of a woman who really does approach every single relationship, particularly business relationships, as competitive relationships, and they don't know how to form community, and they don't know how to collaborate with other women, and really just this mentality that there's only room for one, and I'm going to be that one.
So I think, first of all, I think for the most part, it's not done intentionally. I think that women are competitive creatures. We are problem-solving creatures. We are fixers, and we feel that the world wants our opinion. I think that as women, and I think technology has given social anonymity, right? We've given the safe space to say what we want without awareness of the consequences. So when I was growing up and you had a problem with someone or you didn't like someone, you would have to literally go to their face to have that conversation. Now that's not the case. Now we get to sit with a whole bunch of armchair athletes and people who sit in the cheap seats and don't sit in the arena and judge other people's decisions. Whether that's what they're investing in real estate, how they're running their business. I can personally speak from experience that I had a dear friend of mine who I believed was a dear friend and a champion for my successes and my failures. And I remember her one day pulling me aside and saying, I really need to tell you how I think you need to run your business. And this was through some significant and massive growth for my millwork company. And I was shocked. I was shocked because, number one, I hadn't asked for her opinion. And number two, what she was suggesting was actually devastating to my staff. It would have been terminating people. It would have been, revamping my staff and my team and people who had become dependent on our livelihood, dependent on our company. And for all intents and purposes, the easy way would have been to slash and burn, but that wasn't the solution, right? You don't take the path of least resistance. You take the path of integrity. And that means it's not going to be easy, and you won't make friends along the way. I also think that women have a false sense of friends versus business. And it's two different things. Not everybody who I have a business relationship, I would classify as a friend. I wouldn't call them when I'm feeling upset or sad. I wouldn't vent to them. They are strictly business relationships. I have friendships who don't overlap, right? With the exception of one or two people who work for me who over the years have become dear, dear friends to me who know my good and bad times. The majority of my world is very separate.
So you find compartmentalizing really works well for you?
I think compartmentalizing is necessary because what you need from a friend and what you need from a business advisor is not the same thing, or a business strategist. It's two different things.
Now, do you think that you mentioned technology playing a role in particularly the way that women navigate with each other today? Do you think that it also provides, especially with with everyone's social media profiles and everyone just kind of putting out the highlight reel of everything that they're doing. And not a lot of people are comfortable enough to be vulnerable and to show their failures and to show the mishaps that happen along the way. So what you're really looking at is a commercial of everyone's life and all of the good parts. Do you find that that creates a heightened sense of, do you find that there's more pressure on women now to fit into a certain mold, to look a certain way and to act a certain way and to present a certain persona in order to be seen as successful in whatever their niche is?
Well, I really love what you just said. And I think that I don't know so much if it's the persona now that we strive to. I think we're moving past the I want to look like the magazines, which we certainly live through. But I think it's putting pressure on women and industries to highlight the bullshit. So we see it in real estate, right? We see how many seminars of, flip for no money, make $100,000 or take this investment, and everything looks really fast. It looks get rich quickie. It looks very, if I only gave, if I can get OPM, which is other people's money over here, and, I can do this flip and in 30 days I'll be out and I'll make 100,000, or I can buy this building with no money down. And I think that is a false sense of propaganda. Unfortunately, because we're only looking at, like you said, the commercial, which I love, that's what people are buying into. And I think it's more so now is what is the bandwagon? And I find that disappointing because we saw a lot of social media influencers start talking about authentic body image. And now we're saturated with authentic body image. We saw a lot of people start talking about one thing and very quickly we latch on to that same messaging. And look, that messaging may be authentic for you, but it may not be authentic for you. And I think that there is a consensus out there right now of what do people want to hear? And then I'll feed that to them. My director of social media and marketing, who actually works with Toronto Business Babes, Jessie, I'm pretty sure I make her cringe because my personal Instagram and social media is not so much curated. It's not a list of perfectly color-coded photos, and I know it drives her crazy. I really know it does, because as we, launch my career into more of the speaking, I'm supposed to play the part, right? I'm supposed to have the perfectly curated social media. I'm supposed to have the hair done and the nails done, and I really am looking forward to that. I've determined I'm going to as hell as soon as COVID-19 ends. Like the hair, the Botox, the
all of it.
I digress. I think that what is important about my social media is that it's authentic.
It's very much you.
I want people to read it and be able to read the not so good day, the great day, here's a picture of my dog. You should probably just smile today because the last two posts were really heavy and we don't need to talk about heavy shit today. Because I think that's the way life is. Life's just messy. It's complicated, and the most, make plans and God laughs. It's not meant, I don't think, to be so perfect. We look at properties all the time that are, for all intents and purposes, not perfect, but I see the perfection in their flaws. I think as humans, we're a lot like buildings, right? We're rough around the edges. Without upkeep and love, we fall apart. We start to decay. Our energy starts to depreciate, and single family rentals and multi-residential and mixed use and even my millwork company, they're all entities that are just like humans. And I think the messaging for entrepreneurs right now is just a little too bandwagon. I think we need to see people who are not afraid to speak their, and I say their because it has to be that individual's authentic truth.
Who are some women whether it's in your industry or in real estate or just some women in your life, period, who you would consider mentors or who you think have really played a role in the success that you have in your life right now?
So, I mean, obviously you have your people that are online and writing books, you know, Barb Cochran, Darty Hernandez, Dolly Lenz, Kayla Andre, who's a member of and the spearheading genius between Ontario Landlord Watch Association, Sue Lupton, who is a very local individual who works for the city of Oshawa, who was one of the first female to ever own and operate a millwork company with her family. And these are all women who, you know, and then I look at my own family. My aunt was one of the first women running and heading up manufacturing facilities back when it wasn't heard of to have women plant managers. It wasn't heard of to have women running manufacturing. I think that when I look at all these women, the one thing I see is that they never stopped being who they were. They evolved and they changed and they pivoted depending on what their dreams required of them. But they never lost who they were. They never sold out for opportunity. They never sold out for profit. They were all women who overcame challenges and stayed the course to their integrity.
Now, we spoke a little bit about big renovations and design, but I know that and I'm not sure how new of a project this is for you, the Lev 2 Millwork. I've been poring over that website. My intention was to have an event there because I know that in addition to being just a phenomenal gallery, it looks like it's a pretty incredible event space as well. And you have that out in Oshawa right now?
We do. So Lev 2 Millwork was formerly KTF Cabinetry, which was a very small owned cabinet shop by Kevin Foster. We purchased that about 3 years ago. And I had this incredible vision from the moment of acquisition to build a living and creative Pinterest gallery. We have some of the highest level of craftsmanship. We are really blessed. Builders, developers, and designers really were the number one choice for many of those industries because of our craftsmanship, because of what we can design and build. But, you know, at the end of the day, we're a cabinet company. So what could I do that set us apart? Coming back to that community messaging, we built a 5,400 square foot living Pinterest gallery with fluid movable vignettes. We were lucky enough to be able to reach out at no cost to them. We paid for everything ourselves at Lev, and we invited 7 competing residential designers to design vignette spaces that Lev 2 would manufacture.
Again, collaborating with people who are supposed to be your competitors.
Absolutely. And giving these individuals and they were all just so grateful and humbled for the opportunity. I mean, what an incredible opportunity to be able to showcase your design for free in this amazing gallery. And each one of these designers has just been so incredibly supportive to Lev 2. We just can't thank them enough, you know, but at the end of the day, it is a living Pinterest gallery, which does mean that every year we will be changing the vignettes out, bringing in new.
Oh, wow. Okay.
You can't have something that speaks about design inspiration if it stays stagnant.
That's true. That's true.
And so this is really a tactile experience. You can touch, see, and feel. You can sit in the space. You can have events in the space. You can hold your design meetings. It's open to the public. It's open to the trade. And it's ever evolving. So every year on a series rotation, these vignettes are going to change. New designers, new up-and-coming designers are going to have the same incredible opportunity to manifest their dreams in our facility. And, you know, Lev was a byproduct. Obviously, she was acquired because we were spending millions of dollars on cabinetry for our developments and our clients. We wanted to be able to offer incredible product and services. Now, obviously, with COVID-19, we've had to pivot a little bit. So I'm really proud to say that my team has worked on a relaunch of the site that will be happening in a couple weeks. And I'm super excited because Lev is actually going to have a North American-wide e-commerce site. And
wow.
Not just selling kitchens. So we are launching 24 brand new innovative products that you would never have thought you would have been able to buy and have shipped to your door all throughout North America. And that's just an example of what Lev is. Lev is, you know, a luxury brand that is affordable to the community, for cabinetry. And just like everything else we do, we don't do anything small. And Lev needed to be able to be that for the community, that living Pinterest gallery of imagination, creativity, and community.
I mean, I'm absolutely in love with the images that I've seen on the space on your social media as well as on the website, and really excited at the fact that you're going to continue working with designers within the community so that they can showcase their talents as well. I think that's absolutely phenomenal. I also think it speaks very true to your spirit and the energy that you bring to the work that you do as well.
Thank you.
Before I let you go today, I just wanted to know what advice you would have for young women who are coming into the industry who might be a little bit fresher or greener in their experience, whether it's a second career for them or whether they're just kind of jumping in right now. What advice would you have for them to be able to capitalize on all of the opportunities that they have to be successful?
So I think the first thing is education, and truly education in the sense of mentorship. Find people who are doing and who are where you want to be and emulate them in the sense of what are they learning? What are they talking about? What knowledge? I was always a sponge. I would be at a meeting and I would just take it all in. And then, a week later, I would be regurgitating what I had learned in that meeting, and people thinking I knew that. I had only learned that a week ago, but it was the confidence.
Well, yeah, you know it now, right?
I do. Now I know. I think that real estate is one of the most rewarding careers that you can ever choose, whether that's it doesn't matter what facet, it's rewarding across the board. Is it financially unbelievably lucrative? At times, yes, but you should never be going into a business for the money. And at the end of the day, I would do real estate even if I didn't get paid to do it. I would build buildings even if I didn't get paid to do it. I would own Lev even if I didn't get paid to own a manufacturing company. Some days I don't, actually. I don't. But I think that if you're starting out in this business, you need to have knowledge, you need to have confidence, you need to be realistic with expectations. You can't have a dollar figure. I think that you will see people be successful short term who tell you they have a dollar figure that they get out of bed for every day. And in long term, 20 years from now, you won't see them in that same space. You have to do what you do for passion. You have to be realistic that $1 million checks don't come every week. You have to be realistic that paying yourself will be difficult for a very long period of time. You have to get used to hearing no. You have to become really confident with people talking about you, either good or bad, and you have to not give a shit. And I know that that's really hard, but you need to be authentic to who you are going to be in this world, to your family, to your husband, to your partner, to your wife, to whoever you book to have your future with. You have to be authentic to yourself. I think you have to be thick-skinned in the sense that you can't let personal opinion impact you and where you want to be. So if I had to recap, I would simply say this. You're probably BS crazy for wanting to be in this field. It is not easy, but what I will tell you is that every single person out there can own real estate, can own mixed use, multi-residential, commercial, can own single family income properties, can pivot their business on a dime, even if it was consumer based, face to face. It is going to take knowledge, synergistic partnerships, resiliency, bravery, and a simple one thing that will never fail you. Love yourself. Love what you do, because once you love yourself and what you do, it doesn't matter what challenges you face. It doesn't matter how many zeros are in your bank account or how hard you are working and how exhausted you are. Passion will always produce profit as long as you remain authentic.
I love that. I absolutely love that. Thank you so much for agreeing to join us today, Alexis.
Thank you.
And where can people find you? I know we have your Instagram handle, Alexis Kofman, on the bottom, but you have Big Renovations and Design. You have Lev 2 Millwork. What else is on the horizon for you? Is there anything else that you want to share with us before we take off?
I will just share that one of our projects is super near and dear to my heart. I'm pretty sure my partner thinks I am absolutely crazy, but I'm going to talk about it just for a quick second. So absolutely Alexis Kofman, where you will see my authentic self, much to my social media today. Big R&D, which you will see a perfectly curated, beautiful photo from Chelsea at the stand-in social media. Lev 2 Millwork, which is obviously Rebecca Munn, who is our director of social media. She is flippin' amazing, and I don't know what I'd do without her. But Big is taking a project on in downtown Oshawa. 27 Simcoe Street was actually the old RBC Bank. And when I saw this building, what I really knew had to happen is that we needed a community space. So there is over 2,500 multi-residential units being built in the downtown Oshawa core. Oh, there is a huge regentrification of the environment happening. And downtown Oshawa, I promise you, in the next 5 years is going to be the next Kensington Market, Liberty Village, Leslieville. Like, it is going to be hot. And I know this, and I can see it. So we have two builds down there. But the one that is super near and dear to my heart is we are actually building a mini St. Lawrence market. So we have taken this old RBC bank and we are creating a farmer's market, Instagrammable, cooperative workspace for the community. And we are going to have 20 independent vendors in there, anything from meats to cheeses to vegetables to honeys to coffee, to have lunch meetings, to have Instagrammable moments in the vault. This space is so cool. It has 2 vaults. I'm so excited about it. And what I'm even more excited about it is, in order to keep the rents low for our small ma and pa vendors, what we've done right now is we are actually going out to the community and looking for a community sponsor whose name will be branded all over this market in the downtown Oshawa core.
Oh, that's amazing.
So not only will this business get all of this exposure and support to the community, they are actually going to help create a living St. Lawrence Instagrammable cooperative community workspace in downtown Oshawa.
And you don't have that partner yet, so that space is still up for grabs?
So we are hopeful that someone will come forward. We've approached a couple of companies, and it doesn't have to be can be a grouping of 2 or 3 or 4 smaller companies or one larger marquee. You know, think of it as the mini version of the Scotiabank, right? Like, you know, we're not going to be quite the Scotiabank Arena, but it's the same kind of premise, right? That marketing and what the community
sounds like a phenomenal opportunity.
It absolutely is. And it's exterior branding, it's interior branding, but so much more. It means that the messaging for their brand is going to be sent to the community, that we know that downtown Oshawa does not have a grocery store within 20 kilometers. We know that people who live in that downtown core have to get into a vehicle or public transit to do their grocery shopping. Now they're not going to have to. They're going to be able to grab their coffee, grab their produce, grab their food, grab a beer, hang out with their friends, get some food. You know, this is a destination. And we are so proud to be supported so immensely by the city of Oshawa, the BIA of Oshawa. And I just really wanted to give a little rant about it because it's something that is so near and dear to my heart. Look, this is again what I talked about when I said about being authentic and not chasing the money. For all intents and purposes, creating this market is not necessarily the most return on investment profitability that I could have suggested to our partners.
But it sounds like you. It sounds like it's community centered. It sounds like you intend for it to be, even in terms of looking for those partnerships to make sure that the vendors and the retailers that end up in that space are in the position financially to be able to do what they do, and that you don't just end up with big names who can afford to pay the bill. I think it's very, very centered on what your brand is as Alexis Kofman, not necessarily as these companies that are behind you. And that's very true to what you say. So that authenticity, I think, very, very much shines through, not just in conversations with you, but also in the work that you do.
Really, I thought it was the sweatshirt and no makeup. No?
That too. But, you know, one day we'll be able to leave our houses and get all dressed up and put on our makeup, and it'll be okay.
I tell my girlfriend all the time, there's going to be two camps that come out of this. Either women who are, going to be fake as fuck. We're going to have the Botox and the hair, or we're all going to be like Bohemian Rhapsody hippies. So I'm actually unsure yet of which way I'm going to go.
Oh, I'm straight to the nail salon as soon as this is over. This is not me. You know how you talk about your authentic self? This is not my authentic self.
I feel you. I got a root kit from my hair salon, so I was super happy.
There you go. Thank you so much, Alexis. This has been fantastic. Be sure to check out Alexis on her social media platforms. Be sure to check out both companies. I'm so excited to hear how this project moves forward in downtown Oshawa, and I'm sure that we'll be speaking to you again very, very soon. Good luck with everything that you're doing, and thank you for taking the time to join us today.
Thank you. And thank you for everything you do for women in real estate and out there in the community. It's very much appreciated.
Thank you so much.
Be well.
Thank you so much for joining us on today's episode of This Girl Sells Real Estate. Alexis Kofman is a powerhouse, and I'm sure that you picked up a lot of gems from her. Don't be shy. Make connections. Add her on Instagram. Follow her different business profiles, and who knows, maybe you'll be able to make a connection or a referral that'll take you forward in your business as well. We'll be back next week with a new episode of This Girl Sells Real Estate, the podcast. I am your host, Elle Mejia, and thank you so much for tuning in.